Hey guys, and welcome to another developer workshop video. Today we're going to be focusing on weapons, mastery ranks and stats, because there are some pretty big changes coming to weapons in Warframe, 99% of which, by the way, are just straight up buffs, with the remaining 1% just being shifts in mastery requirements. Now, the TLDR version of what's going on is they are converting over to a budget system to balance all the weapons in the game. And if you're not quite sure what a budget system is, you can look at something like World of Warcraft for an example, because they also use a budget system to balance out all the gear in the game. Each piece of equipment in World of Warcraft has a set amount of budget that's determined by its item level, and this budget is then distributed between stamina and a main stat, so either agility, strength and intelligence, and two secondary stats, so haste, crit, mastery, versatility and so on. This makes sure that one item isn't stupidly stronger than another item because it just happens to have more stats, even though they are the same item level and should be similar. Now, since Warframe doesn't have item level like World of Warcraft, they will be doing it by mastery rank requirement, and they're currently thinking about grouping them to groups of 0 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, 10 to 12 and 13 to 15. Alright, so if, for example, we have 5 different weapons that all have mastery rank requirements between 13 to 15, so they fall into the same category, they will have the same amount of budget, which will then be distributed between damage, status chance, and crit damage to give you similar, if not the same DPS. And they're not looking at burst DPS, they want to balance out sustained DPS, so this will affect things like reload speed as well. Now, this doesn't mean that they will homogenize all the weapons in these categories so that all weapons from mastery rank 10 to 12 are exactly the same, because they won't be. They will just have the same or similar amounts of DPS, they will still have different amounts of damage, status, crit, fire rate and all of that. Now, to get the system going, they of course have to rebalance an enormous amount of weapons, whether it is their power or their mastery rank requirement, and they're going about it the right way, because rather than nerfing the really strong weapons, they're actually buffing the weaker weapons to compete with the stronger weapons. With the exception of the Pandero for some reason, that one got nerfed to the ground, probably because it was horrifically over budgeted. This one is really odd, because the Pandero isn't even in the highest mastery rank budget group, so they could have just bumped it up instead of nerfing it. This results in some really crazy changes, like for example, all bows having their charge times reduced. So the Daiku will now have a 1 second charge time, and all the other bows will have a 0.5 second charge time, which is better in most cases than using Val acceleration now, with the added benefit of gaining 1 extra mod slot. It also allows them to properly balance some oddball weapons. They're giving the Grakata as an example, which can have more crit and status than other weapons because it's very inaccurate. I would very much recommend you check out the forum thread yourself. I will put a link to it in the description because there are just so many changes. I mean, if I just go over the primary rifles that are getting buffed, not just having their mastery rank swapped, we have the Braton, Latron, Hind, Burston, Karak, Boltor, Tetra, Gorgon, Dera, Prisma Tetra, Braton, Vando, Hema, Attica, Stradivar, Karak Wraith, Braton Prime, Dera Vando, Harpak, Grinlock, Gorgon Wraith, Grakata, Parasis, Latron Wraith. We have the Panthera, Beza, Tenora, Buzzlog, Burston Prime, Tiberon, Prisma Gorgon, Prisma Grakata, Latron Prime, Telos, Boltor. We have the Zenith, Supra, Boltor Prime, Supra Vando and the Ferox. And that does not include beam weapons because they're not done yet, and they also separated shotguns into their own thing. Also, if you're worried that some of your weapons will become unusable after this change because they will increase the mastery rank to beyond what you have, don't be. It will only affect weapons you get after this patch. If you already have the weapon, you will still be able to use it. And finally, Rivens, because the first question I had when I saw all of these changes was, what about Rivens? And they are not changing at all, they're staying exactly the same, because if you're not aware of this, Riven disposition has nothing to do with the power of the weapon, it's based solely on the popularity of the weapon. So if no one is using a weapon, it's gonna have strong disposition, and if everyone and their mom, grandmother and great-grandmother are using it, it's gonna have a weak Riven disposition. So Rivens will be exactly the same at the start, though the disposition may fluctuate as certain weapons become more popular with the buffs. So yeah, this is just an amazing change and I can't wait for it to be implemented because there is so many weapons that a lot of people want to play with, but they just don't have enough damage to do the content those people want to do, and this should help with that a lot. It will also give you a better reward whenever you rank up your mastery because you're actually going to be getting stronger weapons as you progress rather than just getting more reputation standing, more void traces and more unranked capacity on weapons, frames and companions. And that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about, so once again the link to the forum post and the entire developer workshop is in the description down below, and I thank you very much for watching as always guys, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.